Morning, I hope we are all well. There's a few things I want to run through this morning. There's been some movement surrounding a couple of pairs very early this morning that I think we need to be a little bit mindful of, and something that we should definitely keep an eye on. We have the US dollar. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. We have a US dollar that is moving this morning, and we're looking at New Zealand dollar. The reason I want to focus on New Zealand dollar is obviously pound New Zealand. We've saw a breakout of the range, retest, and a rejection away from that range that we were talking about yesterday, and the lows at 196, and also with New Zealand dollar at the moment, we seem to be following a similar pattern where we've seen the New Zealand dollar weaken off, come back, but we're now retesting a key significant level. We've also created what looks to be that lower high on the lower time frames. So if we come out to the 4 hours, you can see that we failed to break the highs, meaning that a pop back below this region, and certainly a test of the whole number should likely lead to downside movement into 69.50. Looking a little bit further afield when it comes to this though, there is nothing to suggest that there isn't a possibility for a run back to the upside. There looks as if there's quite a lot of potential for the pair to have a little run back up. We've obviously seen we'll get on to dollar CAD in just a moment, to be fair. There's definitely the potential for the run back into 71 or 1790. However, I think a lot of that relies on this area surrounding 70.35, 70.30 at the moment. So if we were to bounce from here, come back up, take out the highs, so somewhere around 70.70, I'm pretty sure obviously from there the only place we're going to go is to 71. If we can break 71, then we're likely going to end up in some form of swing position up to around 72.50. If obviously that doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen and we do see a push back down, the dollar strengthen up, obviously through the whole number is key, down to 69.50, and then if we can take out this support region at the lows there, then we have a pretty smooth drop into 68. If obviously then we can get below 68 down to 66.50. So the downside targets are far more prominent than the upside. It's just a case of getting that to come into play. Also surrounding dollar Swiss, we see the Swiss franc really kick on, and we've seen it kick on this morning as well. There's some whispers out of Russia about military action, so with that being on the cards, obviously risk pairs like the US dollar, they start to become affected. So we have seen the dollar weaken off again this morning. With regards to potential positions on the pair at the moment, I definitely foresee that a retest of 93.50 is definitely going to happen and due at some point. With regards to where we are in the market at the moment, obviously what we are currently doing is establishing an area of support. Now, given the fact that we've got this little range and region through here, previous lows, previous highs, little range in market that we have through these areas, it would make perfect sense for us to reject from here, head towards 93.50, and then possibly reject from there. Breaks above, we're going to wait for 93.80 to be taken out. Once 93.80 is taken out, obviously we will take positions up to 94.30, 94.50 in anticipation for that breakout to the upside. For all the time that we're still trading below this little range and below 93.80, we're not too bothered and too interested in taking longs. At the moment, the focus just needs to be on the potential downside entries for that below 92.80, I think. Euro USD, obviously we've seen the euro kick on quite drastically. Certainly come over to Euro CAD, Euro Oz, similar situations occurring. A pullback makes a lot of sense at the moment. Certainly with regards to Euro USD, like I say, we've seen it weaken off, but we've come back, we've retested this 1880 level. I'm going to pull that down quickly. I feel like it holds more relevance to us right now down here than it does up there. So like I say, coming into that 1880 level that we've spoken about and traded away from before, we've started to reject and we've closed back below it. If obviously we break this little area of consolidation, we've got the potential for a short down to 1820. That would be a nice little bank this morning. Not a bad position to be involved in, I don't think, with the dollar seemingly looking to strengthen up a little bit. Breaks obviously above 1880, then 120.20 look to be the most likely scenario. We can give it a trend line, that's no longer relevant at the moment. But yeah, definitely a push down into 1820. We can give it a that's not relevant to us either at the moment. So breaks back to the upside. I'm just going to come out to the 4 hours, find a potential upside target. Into 1950 to begin with, and then obviously up into that 2020 region that we were speaking about just now. Looking at the higher time frames, I mean, we're certainly still not out of the woods with regards to this trending market and this downwards trend. In fact, we've just come back to retest the lows of the consolidation that we were in previously. So seeing a reaction around 170 has made a lot of sense. Once we've broken 117.50, heading back towards 1880 is the next logical step. So really and truly, what we see and what happens around this area is going to be key to whatever happens to the euro next, and obviously the next foreseeable leg of this pair. We might be set to see a full reversal and a push all the way back to the upside. You can see we're having a pretty strong week as it is. So breaks back above 1880 could definitely lead us into 2020 by the end of the week. Euro Oz, we obviously broke. I think I entered a short position last night, yesterday evening, which obviously didn't plan out too well. We've got this break to the upside, and obviously we're coming back into an area and this region now where we would expect to see some form of reaction from the pair. I just want to bring this box so it's actually more relevant. So we're starting to see a region where we've seen the pair react before. We would expect to see some form of reaction from the pair, maybe a pullback down into 55.10 would make a lot of sense for this at the moment. You can already see that as we go to the lower time frames, momentum had stalled ever so slightly. Whether or not that's just a new swing though into the swing high, and then we push on from there remains to be seen. 4 hour time frame looks lovely for a push to the upside. A lot of this comes from the Australian dollar and the fact that they have been denied access to import COVID vaccines from Europe. So we're seeing obviously the Aussie dollar weaken off a little bit today, just as a result of the fact that the chances are they're not going to get the doses that they require of vaccinations in order to obviously open borders, etc. So as things stand, longs above 55.50. You could take 55.50 to 56 or 56.20 and then look for the breakout above 56. That would make a lot of sense. Above 56 to 58. Rejection from here, you could definitely look to take the short back down. Probably end up getting to around about 54.80, and then obviously from there potentially down to 54, but I wouldn't get hopes up too much at the moment. But yeah, breakout of a region, so maybe entries looking at around about 55.60 would make a lot of sense currently. Looked at those. Pound New Zealand, like I say, we've broken back towards 126. How we react around this area now is obviously vital. The fact that we've just seen a massive 50 pip movement in 30 minutes for no real reason is obviously something that we need to be mindful of, and something that we do need to keep an eye on. If obviously we break back below 196, then it makes perfect sense to look at potential short positions. I would go as far as saying below 95.80 would be sensible to wait for. But once we get through 95.80, we should definitely see the pair kick on from there. So yeah, there's something to definitely be mindful of this morning as a potential area and a potential position. I know obviously surrounding the pound yesterday we saw massive movements, pound yen being another one. Obviously we spoke about the potential away. We saw obviously a break of that consolidation yesterday, and subsequently 150 pip movement. Again, we're starting to see some support coming at an area where we would have expected to see it. So breaks back below now, 151 would likely lead to 148 being a potential target. However, come to the 4-hour time frame, you can clearly see that it makes more sense to look for potential longs on the pair at the moment. Pound CAD was obviously another one that we were watching yesterday. Again, looks far more logical to be involved in long positions currently. We actually flipped that position anyway, so that doesn't make any difference. Ended up taking the short back down. Yeah, again, a lot hinges around 73.50 and the 74.50 regions. Everything in between that is just white noise at the moment. So we need for one of those areas or one of those levels to be taken out before we look for potential entries. Gold, if a dollar can get back below 130, below 17.35, then I think we will see a drop back down to the 20 level. We shall see how that reacts. I'm not really expectant of it. I'm actually, in fact, more expecting a break back above 17.50 today, heading towards 17.65, and to see a return of weakness in the US dollar for the time being. Euro CAD, similar to pound CAD at the moment. Obviously, the longs make the most sense currently. We've seen and we've broken back above massively key levels for the pair. However, obviously, when we see moves like this, we do anticipate seeing a retest at some point. So if this was to be a sustainable move and a change of fortunes for the euro longer term, then I would want to see some form of swing back down to kind of 49, 48.80. Somewhere in line with this previous area of resistance before seeing obviously a continuation to the upside and a push up So definitely a pullback down into 48.80 at some point wouldn't go amiss on the pair before we started to see further upside, but that remains to be seen. Obviously, with Euro USD, Euro CAD, Euro Oz, we're seeing similar movements in the fact that the Euro just wants to go on a run now. So we just need to be a little bit mindful and a little bit wary of where the pair goes from there. What else? I just wanted to have one quick look as well through dollar CAD. Obviously the dollar went on a bit of a run yesterday. We were involved in longs from 126. So we've seen a push to the upside, breaks back below 126. I would look to short back down to 25.50. Breaks back above 26.50 now. If you're not involved from 126, 26.50 is the most logical area to get involved. We would then very much likely see a run at least into 26.80, I would imagine, somewhere around these lows. And then obviously a push into 127.50. So something to be mindful of at the moment, but yeah, we just need to see how the euro reacts throughout the first sessions of this morning before we start to look to take any potential trades and any potential positions on the pair as things stand at the moment. But yeah, I think that's about as far as we can look as things as we are at the moment. There doesn't seem to be too much. I'm pretty sure it's only CAD fundamentals. I think there's G20 meetings, and then there's CAD PMI later this afternoon, FOMAC meeting tonight. So things to be mindful of around that. But apart from that, yeah, we can't really look too far ahead or analyse too far ahead. We've got potential entries surrounding the euro, so we just need to watch and see what happens around those, and whether or not we can see some strength come back into the dollar, and whether the euro fancies weakening off. Obviously, if a dollar can gain strength against New Zealand, we've got a decent position, got a very good position against Euro USD. Dollar CAD I'm not particularly sold on, but we've broken highs, which is obviously a big deal for the pair. Maybe a return back to 25.80 and then a push on from there, but we shall see. Not entirely hopeful of it though, so we shall definitely keep eye on where we go. I just want to add an alert at 119 here. In fact, I want to edit that. Gonna add it at 85. But yeah, I hope you have a good day, whatever you're up to, and I'll catch up with